And we're live, and welcome to my whiskey den one more time. Tonight, we are going to be talking about a green spot, but not the average green spot, a special green spot. Let's hit it.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.
And I do like that because I always feel like I should have another drink. Like it's specifically telling me to have some more. Yeah. And I'm not going to argue with it. But we, as always, we have Mike with us from Kansas City and our other correspondent, Benjamin Eves from down in South Carolina. And I think Ben's the one that sent this lovely green spot to me, so I'm going to let you jump into it. I don't have to be the rambler at the moment.
All right, pass the baton.
Yeah.
So Green Spot is produced for Michelin Sons, who started business. They were a bakery, confectionery. They got into being merchants, basically. So wine, spirits, a lot of different things they're selling. And this is produced for them or distilled for them by Middleton in Cork, Ireland. Originally, Green Spot was a 10-year-old whiskey, but recently it's been revamped a little bit. It's a no age statement, so it's understood that it's a blend of 7 to 10-year-old whiskeys. Single pot still. It first hit the market here in the U.S. in 2014. So even though it's been well known in Ireland and in the U.K. for a long time, it's actually pretty recent here to the U.S. market, and I think it's received some pretty high accolades. A lot of people who love Irish really love Green Spot. And this is the second whiskey in their series called the Weinge series, where they're partnering with different distilleries that have an Irish link or an Irish heritage. The first one being Chateau Léoville-Baton in France, and the second one here that we're reviewing, Chateau Montelena, which is in Napa Valley, California. And the Irish connection for them was a man by the name of Jim Barrett that was brought on as a partner back in the 70s to really reinvigorate the winery, to get it going again. And I think he was brought on in 1972. He was responsible for replanting the vineyard. Within 4 years, they produced a Chardonnay that was introduced into a prestigious wine competition in France, where it went up against a number of Chardonnay and white Burgundies and won in a blind testing. And this became infamously known as the Judgment of Paris. So, France, always known for being the king of wines, so to speak, got knocked down by a California.
Like an upstart too.
Yeah. And so that's kind of a very interesting link for this particular whiskey, in the fact that it's using Chateau Montelena, famous for the Judgment of Paris, but also has an Irish connection in that Jim Barnett, who was brought in, he's the son of an Irish immigrant. And they're still producing fantastic wines today. And so this, in addition to the 7 to 10 years that they're using a blend of sherry and bourbon cask to finish this in, it spends an additional 12 months in French oak Zinfandel casks. And so you're going to get some just wonderful classic Irish pot still notes, but then there's that wine influence, and that just takes us to a whole different level. So with that, let's dig into this, guys.
All right. It's not quite, I'm kind of getting reminiscent, not totally of it, but when we did the J. Henry that had the cognac barrel finish, where it all of a sudden got some of these more bright notes on the front end of it. I mean, I'm getting the buttery, kind of the classic kind of buttery bread note, a little bit like that. And you get with a lot of Irishes. no metallic. But I am getting some of that brighter Zinfandel on the front half, where it seems more aromatic or effervescent.
Right. What's interesting, or what stood out to me from the first pour of this, and I'm a little more than halfway through this bottle. Classic Green Spot to me is defined by just a bright, nice green apple note.
Mm-hmm.
It's that classic apple note that stands out.
Yep.
You have to dig for that apple note in this one. To me, it's more that rich butter and kind of buttery cookie note that is just very much on the top. And the wine notes are in there, but that green apple, after it sits in the glass, it kind of comes out for a little bit and then it goes away, and that buttery note comes back, and that's almost reminds me more of like a redbreast style in that sense.
Yeah. So I do get the apple. I get apple. I get a little cherry, but I was really digging, trying to figure out what this thing was. I knew it was something with baked goods, but it reminds me of either, it's not so much as a pastry, but it's a baked goods and there's some almond extract in it. But this reminds me like those cookies that will have the fruits on top of them and then baked on there. So it's like that cookie with almond extract, and it's got some fruit on top of it. And it's just concentrating. It takes a minute, but it does. It just kind of builds and comes out of there.
Okay. Oh, sorry about that. Go ahead, Ben.
I was going to say, I just think Mike nailed it on that. My wife makes those around Christmas. She calls them thumbprint cookies. Just kind of a classic butter cookie that's usually sometimes with an almond flour or something, and it's got some kind of fruit jam or something centered on there. And that nails it.
And that's what I was going to say. The sherry cask on this, and typical Green Spot, it still has the sherry cask, if I'm right, where it's kind of blended together. It seems to come out much more. I don't know if that's because of the mixing with the Zinfandel and kind of pulling that, but I'm just going to say it seems much more prevalent in this, where you getting that like that baked kind of dark note, fruit note, like we're talking about.
Oh wow.
Okay. Oh, plus, when we were talking about that, I didn't realize that Green Spot, Yellow Spot, and Red Spot, which just came out, I didn't realize there used to be a Blue Spot.
Mm-hmm.
That was a 12-year edition. Yeah.
Yeah, and I was like, I didn't realize that was there, and I heard they're hoping about bringing that back. They're gonna get the whole they're gonna get the band back together.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm okay with that, but I'm intrigued as to what the hell they're gonna do with the Blue Spot. Sorry, I couldn't help but not ramble in there for a second.
Rambler's got to ramble, yo.
Mm-hmm. Mm.
Man, that's the pastry dough. It's just so thick and concentrated. But I'm getting some citrus too, which I'm sure that has to do with the wine.
You guys were doing almond. I'm almost getting like a little bit of. It's obviously much more buttery, but I like a little bit of like a ginger cookie in there, along with the fruit, but more into the cookie side of cookie biscuit, whatever. I'm not getting into that war, but into that section.
Yeah, it's for Green Spot. This just totally goes in a different direction from the standard, where normally you've got that bright green apple right on top, and this is like an almond or some kind of cookie. And to me, it's almost like somebody just slathered butter and it's just melted right in. It's rich and buttery, and then you've got that fruit, that tart fruit, almost like I want to say like pomegranate is what it reminds me of a little bit, buried in there. And then the barrel spice, or at least the spice, kind of starts to kick in a little bit, some peppery spice on the back end.
But I am getting the wine influence. Like I am getting that like bright note around like the edges of it. But it is like, I think whoever said it was like kind of like reminded you of a redbreast, like the mouthfeel and richness of it. That I usually go for in that is very, very similar. It's very oily, very silky, very coating. And I was gonna say, and you got the deep kind of sherry notes to it, but this I think has more bright notes than Redbreast does.
Yeah, I think it a lot of times when I've had whiskeys that have been finished with a white wine, there's just a really weird taste to it that jumps out. This is really balanced in that it's there, but it's not like, wine. It just kind of works its way into there. It's like, oh, okay, yeah, there that is. And I have to say, I do like this much more than the traditional Green Spot.
Yeah, I do too. I mean, it's not that I don't dislike the green apple, but
Right.
I mean, comparatively, in my mind, if we're going on a scale, say like 1 to 10, I'm not saying that the original was a 7, just comparatively, I'd be going like a point and a half higher. Like if say it was an 8, this is more of like a 9-ish for me.
Right.
Like I find this much more enjoyable, and I am enjoying I don't even really like drinking wine too much, but I like the light Zinfandel. It's like all this rich stuff, and then all of a sudden it's like you grab someone's glass at a wedding, or like you're just trying to like I don't drink wine usually, but at a wedding or something you might just grab one, and it's like, ooh, that little bright rush is kind of hidden 2/3 of the way through there, that it kind of brightens it up.
Yeah.
This is nice.
Yeah, it is. It's very nice.
Yeah, there's really starting to get some citrus there on the palate. Almost like a little bit of a lemon lime zing to it.
Mm-hmm.
And like a zest.
Mm-hmm.
Like not just like the lemon juice, but like the zest of those two kind of coming through.
Right.
Yeah. And the finish gets dry and spice.
Yep.
Which I like.
And it's not horribly intense at any point.
No. What is this? 46%? Is that right?
Yeah, 46%. Yes.
Okay.
We took a long time to appease the stat horse. That was way into the video.
Keep the horse waiting.
Yeah, well, I keep him excited. But yeah, this is. Wow. I gotta say, the last two we've had that were Irish, that Dingle and this one, have been. I guess I went on a spurt where I didn't think I hit a really nice one. Like I just was like, oh, Redbreast is like, is king. Might as well plant it in there for me. But these last two have been really, really phenomenal, like additions of what they're doing. I think stand up pretty well to that. And I almost need to go get another Redbreast, but I don't know. I haven't had the Lusta one that finished in sherry, like the 15-year-old or the 12-year-old that's finished in a sherry one.
Yeah.
But I don't think I just like this because, let's be honest, Mike said it's not dominated by apple. I kind of got like the green apple so heavy in the first one, which I mean, it was a nice whiskey. It just wasn't my flavor profile.
Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm like, this is nice, I respect it, but it's just not. It's never going to be out of the park with me with just that mainly green apple punch on it. But this has got 6 or 7 different things going on in it, and once again, we've hit a section where stuff has been married together really well.
Yeah. Very well.
I mean, I'm kind of scared for something coming up. Whatever whiskey is going to break it, as I feel like it's just going to get. I don't want to say trashed, but I feel like it's going to get drugged down a bit because it'd be like, oh, you guys. Sorry, we went on a run of stuff that's 9s, and all of a sudden, 9 to 10 with iron. If we're going back past that too, and you're only a 7, but your 7 tastes like a 5 today.
We're due to find something that's cheap and questionable to try out.
Yeah, well,
we're kind of like the opposite of Ed at the Rock Gut, where he drank so much bad stuff that even mediocre stuff tastes great to him. We've been hitting some really, really nice quality whiskeys. So
yeah.
Like I said, it's one of those.
This empty glass, I've been sniffing this like crazy. This smells really good.
This has been, for me, in the last 6 months or so, this has probably been my favorite Irish that I've tried.
Yeah.
I mean, my go-to favorite is still the Powers John's Lane, but this Green Spot Chateau Montelena has been fantastic.
Yeah, it's really good. Very good whiskey.
And I like how it's very drying.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not usually like that. I like to like salivate more. I like how this is like pulling stuff away. I'm almost getting it on the underside of my tongue, but the top side is like losing all of it. Yeah. But it is not overly oaky in any way, shape, or form. Like the oak comes through in kind of like a spice, but not. I don't know. It's not licking your face.
No, but it's almost like the way wine tannins, a good tannic wine really dries out your mouth in that way.
Yeah.
This is the same way on the finish. And I get a little bit, I don't know if you guys, for me, I get a little bit of a white chocolate note there that kind of gets kind of a creamy leather with that peppery spice on the finish with the drying out. And I love that combination.
I'm going to say I'm getting more of that as like time has gone on with it. Like even just now when you were mentioning that white chocolate and that mix, now that I've let this open up for 10, 15 minutes, I'm starting to get that next kind of layer of things kind of popping out.
Yeah, the nose is opening up a little bit. I'm starting to pull more fruit, getting some of the apple, almost a bit of an apricot note to it.
Yeah, I'm getting past the sherry notes now, but like at first that was like the very dominant smell for me. The butter cookie was dominant right off.
Mm-hmm.
I could see that white chocolate now,
especially
in the mouth. You guys haven't emptied yours yet, have you?
Not yet. I'm about to add a little bit of water to it and see.
Oh yeah,
I still got a third left right now.
So the empty glass, it's like if you went in where there's been a lot of baking that's happened in a kitchen, and you just get that smell where there's a lot of really nice residual blending of wonderful nasal activity going on there, and it's just like some good work was done here today. That's what it smells like.
I think when you kind of hit it was like it's Christmas time when you were cooking and like or baking, and it's kind of permeated, and you've made 3 or 4 different types of cookies, and you walk in and it's like and I'll take one of each.
I will clean up tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's my wife at Christmas time. She loves baking, and she bakes a lot of different cookies, and being Swiss in origin, so there's a lot of traditional Swiss cookies that she'll do that are just, by the time she's baked 2 or 3 different ones, the smells that fill the house are just, oh my goodness, you're in heaven.
I'm getting
water, way more wine.
Yeah, I was almost getting like a wine, almost bubble yum smell for a second.
Yeah, the water really, it smells younger, and it smells more vibrant, and it's the wine note really comes out.
It could almost be wine with the,
right?
Yeah.
A little bit of myself. Oh yeah, that it's much lighter on the nose just with a couple drops. I'm gonna say I like it better the first way. I like the butter cookie. But I think we're all in agreement. This is another wonderful whiskey from a great distillery.
Yeah.
I don't know if we can call it craft, but it's a craft work that they do. But it's been around for so long that I feel like that might just be a little shady to say. But we'll incorporate some scotches too, because we're going to taste a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
But I did want to get on one thing before we let everyone go tonight. It is this coming Monday at 8 p.m. We're going to be having Dominic DeSanto on, where we're going to be talking about DeMello Sommel, which is that honey spirit. It's honey distilled into a mead, distilled like one more time into an actual spirit, because I don't want to call it a liqueur, because a lot of people would think that's liqueur when you're going that route, but it is actually like a spirit. And we'll be talking to him about how he got into it, kind of the beekeeping he does. He kind of expanded into that. So there's a lot of good information from him. But last Friday, because I think this is going to be Sunday when this comes out, on Friday, I was lucky enough to find out about Maggie Campbell's little Instagram, kind of like I post the YouTube channel thing going on. They got there. Every platform's got a little something where you can have a chat with people. And she was talking about rum and other things that day, and it was phenomenal. If you get a chance to check her out, it's Half Pint Maggie on Instagram, and she'll be having a couple more things. It was a ton. It's a wealth of knowledge kind of being brought out to you. Like I felt like I was back in college. I was like excited about, when you get a class, you're excited about. Yeah, tell me more. And then the heads and tails do this, and then that does this. Okay, and you're like, this is great. Like should I be recording this? What the hell should I be doing? And she's also like a beekeeper and big into stuff like that. So on Monday earlier, I'm not 100% sure, about 4 o'clock, she's going to be doing another one where she focuses on honey and bread and stuff like that. But about 4:30, she's going to switch over to the honey and maybe like how it's maybe distilled or using it in that manner as well too. So if you're out there, check that out on Monday and then hop back to our channel tonight at 8 o'clock and see what we have to talk about there, because it's just going to be expounding upon that. But I know I've sent you guys when the sample send out, we talked about the Royal Reserve, where it's rested in 6 months barrel version of it, where it starts pulling up some of the actual bourbon barrel notes. And I get excited because I start thinking about other barrels you could use and blend together, since we've been talking about used barrels and blending. And it's like this lovely kind of honey note that sometimes you get even in like an art bag. Every now and then you get like this honey note. And I'm like, what if you can start pulling the other stuff out of it and doing it in half the time frame, because you're pulling stuff out of the barrel, basically like working whiskey in reverse. So that's the part that gets me kind of crazy excited. It does. Like the normal stuff is great in cocktails and kind of unique on its own right. But I was going to say this whole other getting from A to B is what made my brain start to spin. So sorry, like I said, rambled, but it's in there. I had to get all that out. I was excited. I was waiting to talk about the Maggie Campbell's thing like all weekend. I was like, oh, this is awesome. Great show. I'm like, check that out, because it's about rum mostly, but it was a ton of information about rum sugars, the molasses in it, how they make it, different grades. Like it went all over the place, but it was like a master's. And if you haven't had Privateer rum, Maggie Campbell is the master distiller for them. And it's really good.
It's really good.
It's really good. So, like, I think at one point we'll at least be reviewing one of the rums, and maybe someday we'll try to get her on, because she has a really neat backstory as to how she got into the industry she's in. She actually started in whiskey, so I think we can kind of veer off our path for a little bit, and bring her on in that manner if we're willing to do that. So, sorry I rambled, guys, but. I'll take a sniff for a second, but I think we're probably going to have to jump off the stream here. We'll let everyone go at like 20-some minutes. I did 5 of that just now. I think that's terrible. But to everyone out there, and for Mike and Ben, and just you guys have a good night. And remember, it's not the size of the den that matters. It's the love of the whiskey. Cheers, everyone.
Cheers.
Cheers.
Let's get into it. 1, 2, 3.